So I swear we didn't plan this specifically, but classes seem to come in clusters. We have another Pathfinder. We have another Pathfinder, boys. Let me give him a call. Woohoo! Discord on stream. It's okay. I'ma call you. Is music a little loud? Is it good?
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
What's up?
I'm sorry for the delays.
Yeah, it's okay.
A little bit of everything going on at the same time. And then the repairman coming by and... yeah, lots of stuff.
It's fine.
Okay. Alright. Were you here yesterday for the other Pathfinder guy?
I watched the VOD that you put up on YouTube of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he's a little ahead of me. I saw he has like some different gear for me, like the alien fragment stuff.
Yeah.
Like higher level notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like there's like a gap from me and him.
So
I didn't really take much away from that.
Okay. I mean, you could like if there was like an extra step, then right? Like, we'll basically talk about like the extra step in between where you can like catch up to him, and then we can basically tag along similarly. But yeah, it won't be exactly the same. Of course, he chose a little bit of a different upgrade path with the gear and everything. Which there are multiple options, and I think they're all similarly close. That it doesn't really. One doesn't really exclude the other, yeah. But I think he was at like... was it like a double your range, roughly?
Yeah, I think he was like 4 mil range.
Yep.
And he was doing like lucid.
Mm-hmm. But he had way less boss damage, and I think...
Yeah, he had way less IED and boss damage than me.
Yeah.
He was still doing way more.
Yep. Well, yeah, there you can also see that the balance there can be tricky. He was at... lowest stat, you're at 12k. Alright, let's start at the beginning, because there was so there was a question about nodes on the video. Was that you who asked that, or?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Because well, since the matrix is the first thing that comes up here, but let me open my my little cheat question stuff. Application checklist. There we go. All right. First things first. Hi, you are a Pathfinder, correct? You're level 220 something?
226 right now.
226. Okay. How much are you playing these days?
I pretty much have all day to play right now.
And for the foreseeable future as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you at a 1-2 PC setup? 3, 4, 5?
I have one PC and like another laptop, but I haven't really like done anything on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still worth to make like a second kana
Mm-hmm.
on a second PC because kana changes.
Yeah, I can see that. So wait, so okay, so everything you've done now is just purely on the one computer, and then with some totems here and there.
Yeah.
Okay. How much money do you have available right now?
Like Mesos?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm broke.
Broke. Okay. And so your goal is your goal general progression, or do you have a specific goal in mind that you want to reach?
General progression. Like, I don't really know what I should be looking for next.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like the first character I've ever made in the story.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah, I just started a month ago, so I don't really know where to go from here.
Okay. Yeah, so the reason I talk about like what your goal is, because some people just want to, they just want to play in events and buy stuff from the store, and they just want to go and kill monsters and be able to do that at like a reasonable rate, but they don't have any desire to kill a certain boss, or I don't know if you're interested specifically in bossing or more in mobbing or just like general. Have you noticed since you started playing that there are certain things you enjoy way more than others, or?
Yeah, I want to be able to solo certain bosses, I think,
Mm-hmm.
eventually. like Lotus Damien,
Lotus
pretty
Damien.
much. Yep. I think it's like I don't know. All I'm looking for like right now.
And you've run these bosses with parties before to get the Abza pieces you have, right?
Yeah, I've gotten everything from struggle parties so far.
Okay, that's good. And you're still running these to get the shoe and the cape and the weapon.
Yep.
Uh, okay. And how's that been going?
It's been okay, but I'm pretty sure like I'm like bottom on the leaderboard for damage.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I'm doing the least because like I only have like less than 12k stat. And I don't know. I just don't feel like very strong for my level.
So your goal is to take revenge and mow them down yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as far as motivators go, that could be a motivator for sure. Because you probably got caught by some lasers here and there, or got dove on by some Damiens here and there. Being put in less than ideal situations. Okay. So your matrix setup right now, is this your general setup? Is this when you're mobbing, when you're bossing?
Yeah, I don't really change anything out. This is just what I run right now.
So the way the game used to historically always be is you kind of just maxed everything. You just kind of put everything on keys, and you just, there's not too much thought that went into things a long time ago. Maybe like the order in which you level the skills. You had actual skill build guides, right? Where it's like put 1 point in here, 1 point in there. Because in general, people would level very slowly. But now you level quickly, and you can max everything. So that kind of takes all the thought out of there. Your AP build as well, your ability power, you just put everything in dex. Like there's no thought in there. Way back in the day, that's where a lot of more of the thought was. But once you get to 5th job, that's when you got to start really thinking, like, what am I doing? Like, what kind of content am I doing? And then how do I want to build myself up for that? So you do that through how do you organize which skills go together in which nodes, and also how do you make it so that your special skills, right? Your skill nodes that you have, why do you have because you have limited space, right? You can't just put everything in there.
Yeah.
Even at level 275, sometimes you have to make some decisions like, do I want to have this one or that one in, even though the amount of available slots is almost double than what you have. So you always have to make some decisions. So this to me specifically looks like a bossing setup, right? Because you got Vicious Shot there and you got the Bind there.
Yeah.
So this looks like a purely a bossing setup. And at that point, you gotta wonder like how much value does the level 2 bird node really give you, versus how much extra final damage could you be getting out of an extra boost node. So how familiar are you with, like, in general, how you want to build up your boost nodes, your skill nodes, and all of that? How familiar do you feel with that?
I don't really know much. I've just been buying the experience node stones in the Rise shop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know like how to get like a lot of node stones.
Yeah,
Or,
so
like,
that could be a thing, especially in the beginning, to get like enough of them in the first place.
Yeah.
So what are you aiming for with your boost nodes specifically? You have a
I
plan
don't
for
know,
that?
just try to max them. I have no idea.
So for boost nodes, your maximum that you can level boost one individual skill is to level 50, up to an extra possible 10, because of the boost node being in a leveled up enhanced slot, right? You've been enhancing the slots, and they get like the gold borders.
Yeah.
So that adds on top of the level of the boost node. The boost node itself can go up to level 25, as well as the skill nodes. Excuse me. They can also go up to level 25. But a skill, every individual skill, can be boosted up to level 50, which means that it can be part of 2 separate boost nodes, and both of those can be maxed to the highest level, and then all of those levels will all fully apply to them dealing more damage.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're in your configuration of boost nodes, do you have like the counterparts as well to max out all the skills that you currently have in your boost nodes already, or do you just have every skill one time?
I don't know. I just like I looked up like the 3 perfect trios. I've
Mm-hmm.
just like been using those.
Mm-hmm.
I've been feeding those nodes to that trio, and then
Mm-hmm.
I've been disenchanting everything. But I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, so that's like half of it. So see if I open mine real quick. Okay. So if you look at my matrix, so I only have 2 boost nodes because there's only 3 skills I need to boost really on the hero. So it's Final Attack, Raging Blow, and Rising Rage. But these skills, so the boost node goes up to 25. The enhanced slot is 5 levels higher, so that means that the boost of this one node is 30, right? You can see level 30, and then in yellow it says level 5 enhancement effect is active.
Yeah.
However, ooh, I have 1 enhancement active. Ooh, there we go. However, if you look at here, you will see that they can be boosted further up to a max of 60, which includes the 10 of the 2 boosted slots. And it makes your final damage of that skill go up to plus 120%. So in order to do that, you need all of the skills in 2 separate nodes and have both of these maxed out.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So what
Yeah.
the last guy did was use even more boost nodes. He had like 6 boost nodes, I think, and then had certain skills be in 3 or 4 of the nodes together, so that all of the levels of the enhanced slots and of the levels of the boost node, everything together, would also get close to 50. So he was prioritizing getting his skills passively boosted, because having access to an extra skill is really nice, but making it so that the skills that you always use do more than double the regular damage, that's also really, really nice, right? So it's always kind of like a mix and match between, is it good to have the Raven Storm, that's a nice skill, but his level 1 Raven Storm, or I don't know, Raven Tempest, I don't know the exact name of the skill, in a boss fight, is that worth more than putting another boost node of like say level 8 in there, which with the level 5 border makes it level 13, which gives you 26% final damage on maybe your main attacking skills. So that's always the value of a slot can be very high, especially in the beginning, but it depends on what level of the node are you throwing in there. Was that too much, or does that kind of make more sense?
No, that makes sense. Yeah. I've just been like disenchanting everything else. I didn't realize like I could have just kept like those other ones.
Yeah, so the plus side to that, so yeah, usually that would be like, that could be horrible, but the upside to that is that since Pathfinder eventually maxes out all their skills, that means every single node stone you open up is a possible what's called a trinode or a perfect trinode, right? Because all of the 3 skills that are in there are skills that you want. But because all of the skills are always skills you want, you can be more picky and you can choose which skills you want together, so that you can choose, do I need to use this node when mobbing or when bossing? So if certain skills only really come in handy when bossing, you can try to aim for those skills together on one boost node. And when certain skills only are required for mobbing, you can try to put those together. That way, you can try to min-max your openings of slot, and you can introduce more skill nodes together to complement those boost nodes when you're, depending on what scenario you're in, right? What some people do, for example, is they don't take the Holy Symbol boost skill node when they go into a boss fight. Then they get really close to killing the boss, and then you can drag in the Holy Symbol boost node over one of your skill node over one of your boost nodes, for example, because those can never be on cooldown, right? It's just a passive boost. And then activate Holy Symbol and then kill the boss at the end. And that basically gives you access to a whole extra slot during the whole boss fight. So thinking in this way will give you a way more optimized matrix. But yeah, so for now, you definitely want to map out like, okay, which skills are useful for mobbing, which ones for bossing, how do you want to complement them. That's why I mentioned the comment on the YouTube video, because somebody mentioned it here. So what they said is, because someone didn't have Shadow Raven nodes, and they were wondering if it was worth it. So that's the one you have on the second one from the left on the top row, right? The Shadow Raven is the one in the right corner there. So someone said the last trinode you want is Shadow Raven, Swarm Shot, Triple Impact. And the priority would be Burst Deluge. And then you can choose from Glyph, Torrent Astra combo assault, and you basically combine those together. So it seems that the least priority of all of these boost nodes would be Swarm Shot, Triple Impact, and the Shadow Raven.
Okay.
So you probably want to put those together. I think you have Swarm Shot, Astra, Raven together. So
Yeah.
it looks like, and that's Torrent, Burst, and Deluge, and then Glyph, Triple Impact, and combo. No, that's combo.
Oh, I think that's Swarm Shot.
Swarm Shot, yeah. Yeah, so the thing is like how min-maxy do you want to get? And you also you want to the worst thing you can do is like extract a full already leveled up node because the efficiency on that is horrible. But what you can do is once you figure out your perfect set of 6 boost nodes, right? Because you have 9 skills. You want to have all of them twice, so that's 18 skills in total. And there's 3 per boost nodes, so 6 boost nodes, right? 18 divided by 3, 6, will service everything and have everything in it twice. So you want to have the perfect set of 6 that service all of them, and then ideally chopped up into, the set of 3s that allow them to be used in their scenarios, be it mobbing, be it bossing. So what you could do now is just keep an eye out for setting up that combination of 6, and then once you have that, try to aim for the 3 skills that you now already have as the main skills that are leveled up. Try to make sure that you at least have those 3 also as main skills within those 6 boost nodes. That way you can use the current boost nodes that are already leveled as a boost node to level up the other ones in the perfect scenario, and they will maintain full efficiency of experience of level up. That way you won't have to extract them, because when you extract you get almost no shards back. It's really bad.
Alright.
Was that all clear?
Yeah, that makes sense to me now.
Okay, yeah. So like list out the skills you want together, and then as soon as you start opening nodes now, try to look for those sets. And the other thing I will say, things like as you saved up some rope lift and some mystic door and everything. Do you still have those, or have you extracted those?
Oh yeah, I should probably extract those.
Yeah, because that's a lot of shards right there. And like I talked to the last guy as well, what he said was right. Since all of your boost nodes are like perfect tri nodes and you're looking for those, or they can be skill nodes or even special nodes, it's actually most efficient for you to just turn the shards that you get into boost nodes. You know how to do that?
Yeah.
And then open those, into node stones, I meant. So not into boost nodes, but into node stones.
Oh, okay.
And then open those again, because the return value is higher, because those node stones are actually very cheap to make. And the chance that it'll have more value than straight up making the boost node or the skill node is 100%. Especially now that every single outcome will still... So the downside is you can't specifically choose what you're going to get. But the upside is that everything that you get is going to be useful in some way to you.
Okay.
So that will overall increase your efficiency for now, especially since you're looking for those 6 boost nodes. How do you have kind of clear which skill nodes you would want to level up and which ones you don't want to level up?
I'm not really sure. I think Vicious Shot and then Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know.
So
Holy Symbol.
Yeah, so the specific Pathfinder skill nodes, eventually you want to max them all out. But kind of the thought behind it is like which ones are a priority here and which one have more impact, just more efficiency on leveling them early on, and which ones are just kind of like min-maxy in the end that want to increase my damage a bit, right? So Holy Symbol is one of those that's really nice, that gives you more experience and more drop rate as it gets leveled. So between all of the decent skills... so leveling up the bind will give you shorter cooldown, so that's nice. And level of Holy Symbol will give you more experience and more drop rate. All the other decent skills, all they really do is just last longer, but their uptime is already 100%. So really the extra efficiency is that you can kind of time when you use them, so you don't have to, you have less chance of getting unlucky with the timing where you have to activate them while you should be bursting, for example, and then it goes at the expense of more of your damage. That's like the extra value you get out of leveling all the other ones, really. So when it comes to decent skills and like shared skills, those are the two most important ones to level up there. And then when it comes to your specific archer skills and those kind of things, yeah, Vicious Shot is a very important one there. I don't know if you've looked at the stats. So what I would usually do, if I'm looking at this thing, I would just Google the skill, right? I would just like Vicious Shot Maple Story, and then if you see a wiki, yeah, Maple Story fandom wiki, these are always grain of salt, but these are mostly completely up to date. So what you see when this levels is the cooldown stays exactly the same. Okay, so that would be like a negative against it, right? But most other skills have this as well. The duration is 30 seconds, also stays the same, so that would also just make it neutral. But what it goes up is the amount of exchange from critical rate that goes into critical damage. So that starts at 21% at level 1, and at level 30 goes to 50%, which is pretty massive. So allowing to do that, and while you're building on your critical rate the whole time, it will just increase your burst by a lot. But because of the nature of that skill, that also means that it's really only useful at all when you're bossing, and then maybe if you're trying to kill an elite boss in the map or something, it'll help you kill that one a little bit faster. But this would be like exclusively a bossing skill. So that'll give you more info on how do you build up your matrix depending on what you're doing.
Alright.
And then the added value with all of that is also that it can free up your keyboard a little bit more. Because certain skills just won't always be there, and you won't have to have everything on your keyboard at all times. But because if a skill isn't being activated at that point, or just not in your matrix at that point, then that frees up room on your keyboard. And these days we have quite a lot of skills that need to be on our keyboard already. So any little bit of space there could be useful.
Alright.
Yeah, so in general, like rope lift. Rope lift is one for the end game that can kind of give you. It gives. Rope lift is like a honorable mention, I guess. It gives you one more stat per level if you equip it. So, I guess at level 30, it ends up giving you like 30 stat, but that's like something for once you're like past level 250 and you really want to, take all the damage you can get. Before then, like, yeah, all the Mystic Doors, you can get rid of that. Sharp Eyes, obviously, you can get rid of all of those. You already have your own Sharp Eyes, that's better. This should give you a lot of shards. But yeah, other than that, just whenever you get a skill node that you have, like that you can use and that is useful to level up, always just throw it right on. Once you have your 6 dedicated boost nodes, there will be 3 boost nodes top skills that won't be in those 6, and then you can extract all of those immediately. And then the other ones will just go into the 6 to level up, even if they aren't actively being equipped at that moment. Is that all? Does that give you a little bit better idea on the matrix and how that's all set up?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me. Where
Okay.
I was just like disenchanting everything and just like running with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of like V matrix is a lot of information. It's and then every other character you're gonna build is gonna be quite a bit different again. Like some will only need 2 boost nodes, some like you will eventually need 6. Some just like 2 skill nodes is fine, and then others you need like all of them to maximize your damage. Just having access to like a level 1 skill node will basically double your clearing speed, and for others it doesn't really matter which one you use. You need like one of them, and then you can just dump boost nodes in the rest. It's really a case by case thing. Okay, but I feel like we already increased the understanding there quite a bit. That'll help you because there's a lot of damage in these, right? It gives you a lot of final damage. And I would definitely, so for that same reason, I would definitely put boost nodes over skill nodes in high level node slots, so that you can get because basically just any random level 1 boost node now in one of those enhanced slots will give you 10% final damage on those skills that are in there, because the slot is level 5. So That's a lot of potential impact damage. And it won't make your range go up, but it'll definitely make your output damage go up.
Alright.
Okay. 7 dex. ID's high. Have you calculated your functional IED? Or are you going off visual for now?
I'm just going off visual right now.
Okay. So one thing is that, well, we kind of touched on it, that range really isn't that representative, right? Because you can have a lot of final damage built into certain skills. And that final damage can't show in your range because it's not always active with everything you do. So it'll always be just calculated on hit whenever you use the specific skill. And in a similar way, specific skills can have ID boosts connected to them, for example, because you get to level 40 in the boost nodes, like I show right here. Oh no, wait, not right there, sorry. Here, right, you can see the level 20 benefit is 5% more crit rate, which is something that's negligible. But then the level 40 one is plus 20% defense ignore. And you'll see that every skill basically gets this at level 40. Which means that essentially you always have...
Cheer 100, boost your nodes, kids.
Boost your nodes. You'll see that you actually always have 20% IED more than what the screen says. But again, the screen only can show you what is always active and not what is active in a specific moment or with a specific skill. So therefore, to accurately decide like what kind of IED are you looking for, do you need it in your hyperstats, do you not? Is this link skill better or is this other link skill better? Therefore, it's always good to go by your functional IED. Which sadly you will have to calculate yourself. The game doesn't really help you there. So I put the link in the chat, !IED, and then you have the calculation there, and that'll give you this this screen. There's a bunch of them pre-filled in the bottom, so if you don't have them, you can just click them, and then they'll be removed from the list. But those are like most of them. And then if you have extra lines of IED, you can just add them as a source. Let's say... I don't know, weapon. Oh no, you had some on your emblem, I think, right? Emblem.
Yeah, I have like 70% from that.
Yeah, so emblem 40, and then you just add 40% IED, and then you had emblem 30, and then you say that's a line of 30. You add that, and then maybe you don't have it in your hyperstats right now, for example, so you take that one out. Leafer Codex is gone. That way you can get your actual IED here, and that's also the IED you want to look at in the IED here, right? In the milestone progression. You've probably seen this one before, right?
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, so that's here the IED that you want to look for with the functional IED. So as long as you're in the margins there, then you're fine as well. And the general way of thinking about this is like, let's say, you keep what you have now, and then later it comes out that like the total distribution of your points, for example, your hyperstats, and what you have maybe with link skills at that point, makes it so that moving your hyperstats more into IED will actually allow you to roll out of the current stats you have on, say, your emblem into more attack, and will actually allow you to do way more damage, way more final damage. So the way to calculate what the possible, what the probable outcome is going to be there, kind of rudimentary, but still pretty straightforward, is with the WSE optimizer. So that stands for Weapon Secondary Emblem. And basically what you put in here is how much you already have. So base IED will be your functional IED, but without the potential of your Weapon Secondary and Emblem. Same with your damage. You'll look at your damage bonus. So your damage bonus percentage and your boss damage percentage together, but again without the potential of those three. And same with the percentage attack. So this will be like your soul, if you have percentage attack on your soul, if you have echo on, and some classes in their kit have some percentage attack, so you have to go through your skills specifically to make sure that you don't. And then it'll just show you what the top most ideal outcomes are in distribution of potential lines that will give you the biggest multiplier in your final damage compared to each other. So one big thing is that you probably don't want to mess with that too much right now, because the familiars are a huge chunk, or huge possible chunks of boss damage and IED. And we really still have to kind of wait and see how those are going to be re-implemented in the game and how big a role those are going to play. So until we get those, I wouldn't fuck with your weapon secondary and emblem too much. You know, of course, when you get your Absolab, you can definitely focus on attack, right? Because the other lines you already have. But if you want to min-max your secondary and your emblem, I would definitely wait until we get more information, and a little bit more hands-on information on how the familiars are going to be impacting the rest of our, mainly the distribution of the potentials on those three. And the great thing is that for most of those, for 2 of those 3, you also don't have to worry about potential or flaming or anything like that. So, about star forcing or flaming. So you just, focus all of your efforts and other stuff. But hopefully, by July 22nd, we'll have a little bit of a clearer picture on how that's going to affect your gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah, so what is probably going to happen in the future as you get more hyperstats is probably that all the points in dex are going to go out. Everything is probably going to go into defense in your hyperstats because there's like a cheap source. And then you might also move into IED in your Legion as your Legion gets bigger. And then that'll basically allow you to completely reroll the emblem for damage is probably the direction you're going to be going in. The general direction. You also have the Meso obtain inner ability and drop rate like the other guy. Yeah, like I said to the last guy as well, if you don't need attack speed +1 on your character, then having Meso obtain and drop rate is really good because it'll just help you make more money the whole time when you're leveling. And it'll just make you, it'll just get you to the finish line faster basically. So as long as you can keep that, that's fine. And then just save up a bunch of honor experience because you're going to need like 1 million plus, 2 million plus if you really want to settle your endgame honor experience. What are you doing these, do you know where the honor experience mainly comes from? Are you doing anything specifically to get that?
I think you get it from Muon, right? I don't really know from any other sources.
From what, sorry?
I don't know any other sources other than like Muon Dojo.
Oh yeah, so Mulang Dojo is definitely a good one. The other one is just, simply when you're clearing monsters, they will drop those little medals as well. So the more drop rate you have, the more of those you'll see. And then elite monsters and elite bosses. No, sorry, not elite bosses, but elite monsters drop them. And then elite bosses, they can come in those chests. And then it's basically events and event stores where you can purchase a bunch of them. Maybe you've checked the event store out for this time as well. There's a bunch of them.
Are they worth buying?
I would say so, because honor experience is a pretty rare resource, and it's a very long process. To get your armor there. And to, I think definitely if you're going for the points, I would say they're worth, especially since you're now at like 40k, so you can definitely use a lot of honor experience for the build-up. You're going to need like millions if you want to min-max your invulnerability eventually. I wouldn't overlook how long, even with like a lot of bossing, just regular bossing as well, those drop a lot, but even with doing all of that, it can take a very long time to build up enough honor experience. And if you're just unlucky, you can throw millions, because, once you get your second or third line critical rate and you start locking those in, it's already, even on 50% off, it's 5k per roll. And it can easily be like a few hundred rolls before you get something useful. It's pretty RNG.
So it's not something like I'm looking for right now, right?
No, but it's good to know where those sources are and to slowly build on that, like in the background, so that once it does come to the foreground and like now min-maxing on my inner ability is actually very efficient, then you can start going at it. Or there's like, let's say there's a circulator sale, or there's a 50% off inner ability event coming up, and then you're already prepared, and then you can make use of the event. The worst part is if an event gets announced, but you haven't done any of the pre-work in like the year ahead of there, and then you basically have nothing built up to be able to take advantage of the event. So I'm usually thinking like very long term in that regard. It's like so definitely doing like weekly dojo and saving up those points. That's all definitely a good idea to do. But yeah, don't forget the event stores. Okay. All right, you're working on your symbols. That's good. Doing all the double symbol dailies, right? Sometimes people forget that some areas have two separate dailies. Like the
you mean the daily quest and the party quest?
yeah. So in the beginning there
Okay.
was only one per area. So when they got added, some people who came back completely didn't know that there were extra ones, and they were losing out on a lot of daily daily progress. But yeah, so
No, I don't.
Spectrum, and then Kill and Gather in Choo Choo, and then Hard Mudo PQ, and then Kill and Gather in Lacaline and Dream Defender. You doing all of those 6?
Yeah.
Okay, just double checking. Once you unlock Arcana, which wait, have you already unlocked it?
I'm in the middle of doing the pre-quest, but like I can't really get past it right now.
Yeah, it's high level stuff at the end, right? Takes a lot of damage. Yeah. What could help is if their arcane power is too high, that you temporarily reset some hyperstats into arcane power. To boost that. That should give you, because you know that gives you less reduced final damage, so technically gives you more final damage, which is always a huge multiplier to get. So that could help you get that extra boost you need to be able to get through the pre-quest. The reason I'm saying that, even if it's just temporarily, and maybe it costs you 10 mil to reset your hyper points, and then another 10 mil to reset them back. Arcana has a like the solo PQ with the Spirit Savior. You've probably seen it before.
I haven't seen it before,
Okay.
actually.
Well, I'll do it on my hero right after, so you can remind me after the video to do it on my hero, so you can see it. Basically, you in the pre-quest you're saving those rock spirits, right, that are like trapped under roots and shit.
Yeah.
And then in Spirit Savior you basically do the same thing, but in like one big map where they get stuck in random places, and then you have to free them and then hand them in, and then you get points, and then the more points you get in a day, you can get up to 30 coins, and those translate into up to 10 symbols. And then the kill quest that you have on the side, like the second daily, that one gives up to 8 extra as well, so that can give you 18 symbols a day. Which basically means that the first week you're getting like 4 or 5 free levels, and that gives you like a boatload of arcane power and a lot of stat as well. And once you start leveling up even more symbols at the same time, you're gonna see like the other guy that your stat increases really quickly. If you combine that with upgrading your gear as well and getting to the next level, finish up more of your Abzo stuff, set bonuses, everything working together, that's really gonna make you snowball into the late game, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, highly advise. Even though it can be difficult if you're at the lowest level trying to do the pre-quest, it's not always self-evident. But
it's worth to like power through them, right?
Yeah. So like if you just do 3 extra days of those dailies, that's 54 extra symbols. If you can cap on Spirit Savior, of course, might not be super easy in the beginning. Because the faster you kill the monsters, the faster you can move around, and the less likely it is to get caught. So while you're trying to save the spirits, you're trying to get caught by one of the monsters that's floating around the map. And as you have more spirits saved with you, he's going to be faster and try to catch you. And if he catches you, you lose all the spirits you have on you, so you gotta like outrun him the whole time. And if you take longer to kill the roots to pick up the spirits, then the monster will have more time to catch up to you. So in the beginning, you might have to like move around a little bit smarter and maybe a little bit more inefficient, just to create more space between you and the spirit. And then later when you're stronger, you can just like blow right through it, and you don't even really have to worry, because it's just like one hit, pick up, move, one hit, pick up, move, and you'll be more confident in how to move around the map. And in the beginning, you're just going to be, kind of like looking at, oh, how does this work? How does that work? The great asset that you have is there are big jump boards that toss you around the map, and what you can do with Cardinal Torrent is kind of interrupt the momentum that you have from the jump boards to either go in the opposite direction or go up and go down, and that way manipulate the extra mobility that you get from the jump boards way better than a lot of other classes can. So that'll be like a huge benefit that you can have as a Pathfinder.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Alright, so the weapon looks fine. You're gonna just hold this the way it is until Absolab is my guess.
Yeah.
Seems fine. So there is There's a 30% off coming. When was that? Have you checked the exclamation mark events to see if there are any Sunny Sundays coming up that you can use? Or the patch notes, I guess, for that matter. Oh, July 12th. There we go. That is a 30% off. So, just as like general information, there's 3 types of Star Force events. One is up to 10 stars, you get 1 extra star when you succeed. So it's the easiest way to get to 12 because it works at 10 as well, from 10 to 12. If you're trying to go for 15 stars, okay. So wait, let me take it back. So you would go up to 12 basically on every item that can, and you would keep it there as long as if the item's max is at 15, unless it's an endgame item. So if it's like the strongest item in the set and it could possibly get to 15 and not beyond, then eventually you want to get added to 15, but it's a very low priority. If an item can get only to 15, but you replace it later anyway, then you just want to keep it at 12. And the main reason is, you know about Transfer Hammer, right?
Yeah.
So that consumes 1 star. So if something is stuck at 15, it's not even valuable to to Transfer Hammer, because then it goes down to 14, and then you have to go, like yo-yo limbo again to try to get up to 15. So that's just basically a lot of waste of money. And the only reason that it's worth getting something to 15, really, is if you can go past 15 and then get all of the extra weapon and magic attack that you get from, passing that. So that's in general. So the 1+1 up to 10, that's great to get everything to 12. Then the 30% off is the best one to get up to 15, because you're going to be like failing, succeeding a bunch up to 15. And then if you ever want to go past 15, then you want to go for the 5, 10, 15, 100%. So that means 5 to 6, 10 to 11, and 15 to 16 Star Force have a 100% chance of success. And other than that, it does nothing. But just the fact that it does that makes it already better to go past 15 stars than the 30% off on every single roll. Just because you'll fail back to 15 so many times, and having to not deal with failure there, and having to not deal with the chance of a blow up there from 15 to 16, on average already saves you more, even when you're going all the way up to 22 stars.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like extreme cases where 30% off and 5, 10, 15 cost roughly the same if you're going like very high stars. But then the main difference is the amount of booms that I just mentioned, because 15 to 16 will just every time will have a small chance, and over the course of Star Forcing something so far, you'll have on average like twice the amount of chance to boom something, so you'll need more backups, etc., etc. So if most of your stuff is still 12 stars, you're looking out for those for those 30% off events to try to get to 15. And then you just leave your stuff at 15, and then you keep your eyes open for a 5, 10, 15, so that you can push it to 17, basically. So I would definitely always just save up, see if there's a big event, then dump your money in the right place in the right time, and then just save up again. That way you have, at least for me, it feels more, you feel like more confident that you're not missing out on anything, and that you're like being sensible with your money, and that you don't constantly have to worry like, oh, what do I upgrade now? Where do I throw my money, So mainly just go by the events. The downside, of course, is if an event doesn't come around for a long time, you can kind of get impatient. Like with cubing, and DMT not coming by, a lot of people started getting a little bit impatient with that. That's the downside, of course. Like, it can be a little bit fickle when the events come around. But with patch notes, always on the bottom, Sunny Sundays. You can always check those to see what the big Star Force events are always in the Sunny Sundays, so you can see them coming there. So the reason I'll mention all of that, so the weapon is 12, so what it could be an option is getting it to 16 and transfer hammering it into Abzo. Or if you get your Abzo before then, you can just straight up just Star Force the Abzo to 15 during the 30% off, and then just keep that there until there's the 5, 10, 15, and then push it to 17. So it'll kind of depend on the timing, on when, if you have the Abzo before the event comes out, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Other stuff. So I'm gonna look at your complete set. So you're using
The 9 set boss accessory set.
Yeah. That's probably why you have some more boss, huh? Right?
Yeah.
And the other guy. So you're looking to replace the shoe and the weapon, and then eventually the cape.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll keep your 9 set bonus. And then basically, how are you with the narrows and the solo voyages and all that stuff?
I'm almost done maxing out my vessel. It's like almost to the 3rd level.
Nice.
I have all this, like, I have one set of like all the Sweetwater things other than the pendant, which I'm not sure if I need.
Oh, so you have the eye, the face, and the pendant?
I have the eye, the face, and the wait, the other one, I'm not sure what it is.
Earring?
Yeah, the earring, I think. I just know like I have all of them other than the pendant.
Yes,
No.
yeah. So the downside is that they don't have a set bonus, so and they don't get boss flames. So the real point that you start using them is when they really start overpowering the sheer bonus stats that the boss accessory items have, because you have to compensate for those two things. So that's typically once you get past 15 stars and you get that extra weapon and magic attack coming in up to 17 stars, that's typically when you switch those over. So these can also be part of the list of things that on July 12th you will want to try to get to 15 star, and then maybe even just sit on them. Maybe you don't immediately switch over to them, but then once the 5, 10, 15 comes around and you get them to 17, that's when they come into play basically. And that's when you switching individual items is probably never going to be good for you right now, because you switch one, you break the set from 9, and then you get the 7 bonus. Well, then there's one item that's kind of like floating, because those boss accessory set items by themselves aren't that great. And if they don't give the set bonus, then you might as well switch 2 items at once. So that's why you kind of as you're working with set bonus very heavily, you're going to be looking at switching multiple items at once over. So that's why prepping them during ideal times, like during Star Force events, so that you can switch them at the opportune time later, is a good way of looking at it long term.
Okay.
Let's see. So yeah. Have you been trying any Gollux?
Yeah, I can do up to hard looks right now.
Okay. And then, have you tried Hell? Hell is probably way too much, right?
Yeah,
Hard Gollux is doable. Yeah, Hell is way too much. Okay. Yeah, so I thought, okay. And Hard Gollux is like doable, but not like a 3-second run, but like...
It's like, it takes me like 7 minutes, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, 7 to 8 minutes.
Probably feels like an eternity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully all of the getting stronger that we're going to be working on now will help you take that runtime down by a lot as well. Then you won't look up to it too much, and then they can streamline your dailies a bit more. Okay, yeah, so Iron Face. So just get into Sweetwater accessories a little bit. So the Iron Face, because all the other items eventually start disappearing, the set bonus for boss accessory set also starts disappearing. Therefore, you start looking for the best alternatives for them. And then that's when the Iron Face start coming in. Because they're higher level, because the potential is the higher, the bonus stats are higher. From Star Forcing, no flame advantage, but that's not enough of a negative to not switch over to them, basically. So specifically once you get past 15, then those come into play. And then earring, pendants, and rings will hopefully sooner than later, but eventually all go into Golok stuff. But of course, that has been moved way further into the game than was the case before. And it's just a general good idea to have a bunch of items already like part of the way up there to them becoming replacements. So like let's say that let's say that one day someone's like, oh, I can take someone Helix, and you're like, oh shit, take me please, and you get a belt, for example. Like the superior belt is insanely good, right? So
Right.
if you can get your hands on that one, that'd be really good and worth. But then you can break the set again. So what do you break the set with? Like at that point, probably the next best thing to break the set with is to get rid of the Silver Blossom ring, because the base stats are very low. And if you can replace that with an event ring, that would be really good. That way you still hang on to the 7-set bonus. Right, and now the overall value of the boss accessory items has gone down just a little bit. And then maybe you get enough coins to buy an earring. Like, oh, that's really good. What do you replace after that? Well, probably the Horntail pendant after that. Even though it has the highest tier potential, it doesn't get flame stats advantage, right? So it'll be the least bad one to replace there. And now you're down to the 5-set bonus. And then basically a little bit after a little bit, yeah, it'll go down to the 3-set, and then eventually I think you're left with the 2-set, I think, right? Because you'll keep the cup and the badge.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that there's not like maybe metal should be part of it as well, so you can at least keep a 3-set or something. It feels a little bit annoying to have to 2-set, or make the they should make the familiar thing part of the set as well. So everyone gets the basic one. Alright, but that's all like general. I know I'm not giving any specifics, or like, well, I kind of did with like the order of the accessories, but hopefully this gives you like a broader understanding of the general road of progression. It might feel like you don't really have anything to write down specifically now with like advice that I'm saying, but it'll the goal is that it'll give you better overall understanding when certain other options become available to you, that you'll have a better way of comparing those options and be able to make your own decisions there better, rather than having to rely on like a guide, or whether I'm available, or whether what a random YouTube video says. Hopefully this is creating like a little bit more of a general understanding of what the order of things are and how it is still kind of shifting and how it can shift, right? Let's say that KMS now announces some really weird set of accessories that actually blows all of this out of the water. Then maybe we say like, stop investing in everything, freeze, hoard all your money, and then when that comes out, move all your money into that, right? That's all possible.
Okay.
So that's why it's a good idea to keep an eye on coming updates and coming changes, which will be tomorrow. For the people in the chat and for you as well, 15 hours from now, right? God, time zones. 15 hours from now will be the KMS announcements for this summer. We don't know how detailed it's going to be. It's all going to be in Korean, so we might have to wait a little bit for people to translate. But that should be exciting, or a horrible disappointment. But we'll see. Okay, so weapon, the 2 options depending on when you get the weapon. Belt, that could be hold. You could probably get this up to 12, right? This Sunday.
Yeah.
And there's probably a bunch of other stuff just to get it like prepped at 12 to give you some more option. Hopefully get to be able to get to 15 faster. Oh man, if only that earring had Dex on it instead of luck, that would have been real nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already real nice, honestly, but that would have been really, really nice. Just to tap into the basic, well, I call it basics. It maybe sounds a little bit bad, but the more like underlying mechanics. Let me rename that because this sounds a little bit like people are dumb, which people aren't, of course. How are you with flames and flame score and understanding that?
I think I get it. And I think most of my items have good flame score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you seen the calculator that Seth made?
No, I haven't.
I think if you check !flames, Seth Boy from the chat made a calculator where you can basically just throw all the numbers in that you have, and then it'll just roll out the flame score for you. If you're ever wondering, or ever just you want to make sure that you get it, You could just throw the numbers in there. Just put in like what kind of character you are. So like main dex, secondary strength is strength. You use weapon attack, and then you just put in the numbers of the flame, calculate it, and it'll just give you the flame score. Just so you can double check, make sure that you have everything correct. And for weapons, it's a bit more complicated. So we made one for weapons as well. So if you like double check your where's your we're right at the fourth picture, 160 base, and it's 52. So you would do, this is the level tier. It is flame advantage because it's Fafnir. Base attack, I already forgot. What was it, 150? 160. 160. And you can see 52 right here is tier 6, so that's a tier 6 attack. So it comes out really quickly. And if you add it in here and you do calculate, it should come a 6 there, right? So if you're unsure on what numbers you want to be looking for and everything, you can use this or to double check. And then I already referred to the progression thing before, that you can keep an eye on that to see if you are at the flame score where you roughly want to be. But I can tell that you're definitely looking out for those. But it's mainly going to be... Yeah, you're mainly going to be going hard on a 30% off, I think, to get all of your stuff to 15. And then, even when you go into 15, it's not going to feel like a huge increase. But the main thing is going to happen once you get the 5, 10, 15, and you push everything from 15 to 16, you're going to see a huge boost there. And the only reason that you're going to see that boost is because you did all the prep and getting everything to 15 first. So it'll feel a little bit thankless for a long time, but then it'll really pay off later. Okay. Get more into rings and dependence. Yeah, the pen's all fine for now. Your chaos ring, you're still rolling, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get something juicy out of that, because this is not juicy. Let's see. You have item drop. So you're just settling if you get item drop or Meso obtain for now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good strategy. That's usually what I say. Item drop or Meso obtain keep until, of course, if you have already 5 Meso obtain, then you need to keep rolling, and then just roll whichever item has the least extra stat with it, Like if you have like a Meso obtain plus 9% dex, you keep that one over a Meso obtain. If it's your 6th one that doesn't have any dex with it, then you re-roll that last one. Then you get all your other stuff figured out. Of course, WSE priority. Probably after that, your glove priority because of the critical damage on legendary. Then everything else. And then you can move back to your accessories and start adding a line of stat with the lines that you have. Hopefully some of the accessories at that point will have at least one hopefully will get like a double line with a drop and Meso obtain. And then that will give you more flexibility in moving around and just more overall lines of utility when you're training and bossing. Well, not bossing, when you're getting loot from bosses, I should say. The tattoo is already up there. Oh, and a 36 flame. Okay, so that one's prepped. Dominator pendant. How are you with transposing and everything? Is that clear for you?
I haven't really looked into it. I just know that you get an extra star out of it, right?
So transposing is kind of like a special form of transfer hammer. So the standard is the standard thing is the same, that you try to move your bonus stats from a lower level item to a higher level item. Like that's the same idea, and it does consume 1 star in the process for both things. The thing that happens though that's different, so with star forcing, what happens is your flames don't transfer along, and you keep the flame score, the exact flame of the target item. What transposing does is it brings the flame with you. So that can give you the benefit of getting the Dominator pendant, which gets boss flames, it has flame advantage, and move that flame onto a Sweetwater pendant that does not have flame advantage. And that way you can get the combination of more backups because you have more dineros, better flame score through transposition, higher tier potential, right? 13, 10, 10 at legendary instead of 12, 9, 9. And there was one more. Oh, which one did I forget? Oh, and because you transpose, what happens is the stars from the bonus stats from 15 to 16, they get stuck on the item, and you get them again when you go from 15 to 16 again. So you also kind of increase the base stats by doing transposing. That's kind of probably what you thought about, like adding a star. You basically, you lose a star in transposing, but the stats, the bonus stats of that star get like stuck on the item itself, so you can double up on them when you go again. So it's almost as if it has the 15 to 16 star extra, regardless of what star you're at.
Okay.
On top of it. So because you do that, we typically set a very high standard for the flame on the Dominator Pendant. On the Papulatus mark is another one that you probably heard people talk about, right? You would do the same thing with the Papulatus mark as well to transpose it onto the Sweetwater Monocle. The main reason we do this is because the other accessories that are designed to be better are drops from like Varus Hilla, Hard Lotus, Hard Damien at an alarmingly horrible rate. So it's not really realistic to get these things, and even if you do get them, to Star Force them high enough without blowing up is just very unrealistic. So this other situation and transposing is kind of what people use to compensate for that potential, to increase the gains that they can already have on the items that are more accessible. So the main goal for both of these items is get it to 16 stars, and then get a flame score between. Typically, people aim for between 105 and 115, which will be very high comparative to other items in the same level bracket. But because once you've transposed, you can't reflame, because if you do, you would revert back into a non-flame advantage flame, right? So you would ruin the stats, and since you're stuck permanently, basically, that's why people set very high standards before the transposition, so that they don't have to rely on that. Because there's no re-rolling later.
Okay.
So that's like the plan for the Dominator Pendant. Of course, until then, flame advantage item, good potential, and a good set bonus, of course. So a very good item until then. So the Ranger Beret is also going to 15 during the event. General advice for hat and top, and to a lesser extent bottom, but I think I saw your top was already legendary, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But mainly the hat and then the top as well, is that once you get to legendary, a bunch of lines of potential get added that are very useless. And therefore the average cost of getting good stats goes up dramatically. And my general advice is to keep your CRA set, but specifically the hat, and to a lesser extent the top, to keep them unique for a longer time, and just roll them with Master Craftsman cubes instead, and get nice potential on unique. It's very easy to get 2-line, even get 3-line. Much easier than to get the same amount of stat on legendary. It'll just be more expensive there. So your top is already legendary, that's fine. But like for your pants and for your top, I would keep those. Pants and your hat, I would keep those unique and just re-roll in unique. And keep those there for a while until after you got like everything with the WSE settled with familiars and everything. The top is already 16. That's nice. Oh wait, I skipped a few items here. How are you doing with flames? Do you like buy them? Do you just wait until you get them from bosses? Like, what's your?
I don't buy any flames. I just use the ones I get from bosses.
You just save them up, or you use them right when you get them, or?
Right now I'm just saving them up. I'm okay with the flames I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should be rolling for more.
Yeah. So, I said the main thing to go about is if you look at progression and see what kind of flame score you want to aim for, just see which items are missing the most comparatively to where you want to get them at. And those will have the greatest amount of stats to gain. And then just, save up flames like you are, and just wait until you have a bunch of them. And, not so long that they expire, but like right before they expire. And then just use a bunch. And then if you make any kind of progression before you run out of flames, or you're like close to running out, then you just stop and just start saving up again. If you don't make any progression, try to do a little bit of damage control. You have like 3 flames left, and the flame you have at that point is only like a little bit lower, or it's still okay. Then you just pause there and you start saving up flames again. That's how I would go about it. Again, it's a slow, long process, kind of like what we talked about with Honor Experience. It's not glamorous. It's not going to feel super crazy, but in the long run, it's efficient. But it's one of those small things that you do on the background that will just help you get stronger, kind of invisibly in the background. Yeah. But everything else, seems like it's pretty much on the same point. 7 attack, 6 all stat. Dude, why is there always speed and jump on these flames, man?
I don't know.
If that was stat, this would be like so good. But yeah. Yeah, I imagine with the top it was quite it was probably quite tricky even just to roll 12% dex, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many, there's like what is it, like extra time to be invincible when you get hit and stuff like that. A bunch of those lines on there. Okay. Critical damage and dex on a glove. So that one's going up to, that's part of the things on the list that I'll go up to 15 on the 12th of July, right? So that's going to be saving up a lot of money for then. Flame on the cape is fine. That's good dex. Yeah, not Star Force. That's all okay. If I'm going by any equip and you have any specific questions about the equip, you can stop me, by the way, right? If you're wondering about anything.
All right. For the secondary weapon, is it worth like rolling for potential lines right now? Like I think mine right now is fine because I have like 60% boss damage and 35 IED. But like, should I swap it out for like Princess No or like?
Yeah, so probably I think you're in the ideal situation now where you could so both yes and yes. So it's fine to have this right now since you're still growing and you need those base things like boss damage and IED. You're just limited in those sources right now because your legion isn't big enough yet. And relying on those on your secondary is like the perfect place where you want to do that. And then while you're relying on this and while you're building up your legion and while we're waiting for familiars to come back and all that stuff, then you start working on Princess No and get a secondary there, and you just start working on rolling that. And the benefit is once you eventually move in, you'll have bigger base stats on the secondary, and you can just freely roll with red cubes there without having to lose a huge chunk of damage because maybe the red cube ends being shitty, and then you lose out on all of those fundamental stats that you do need. So that is going to be something, like if there's a DMT, you can just use that to tier it up to legendary, and you just keep it there. If there's a cube sale, you can dedicate some money to it. But it's one of those things. Oh, you have a free 50% epic potential scroll. Oh, throw it on there. You get some. You get like master. What is it, like a black cube at the end of the month from the rewards, or there's like you feel like just throwing like a 6-pack of black cubes on there. Like you can do that, but you don't have to dedicate huge amounts of money because you don't need it right now. But it's again something that you're in the background doing, and again it's not super glamorous, but eventually that secondary might roll something very nice and you could be like, hey, look at this guy, now I redid my hyperstats, now my legion has grown tremendously and they can support the boss damage and the IED that I need, and now this guy can come in as Princess No with all of this extra attack and your damage will skyrocket.
Okay.
So that's like, for now this is great, and then for the mid to long term, moving into Princess No will be what you want to do, yeah. So for the Maple Leaf, there's a lot of... So don't get me wrong, like IED is damage, but it's like invisible damage, and then visible damage is the attack percentage, right? So
Yeah.
there is a lot to be gained here, and 2 lines IED is like, now you have 3 lines IED and 2 lines of boss damage and 2 lines of attack, right, between your weapon secondary and your emblem. Yeah, so that is 7 lines out of 9. So that's already, for this stage in the game, that's fine. Most people will have 7 useful lines, but the distribution is like kind of out of whack. So typically you'd want to have like 5 damage, 1 boss, 1 IED, or way heavier on the attack side. But like I said, we really have to wait and see, because you'll have to redo it. Like, no doubt, 100% you're going to have to redo it. But to which extent and what you're going to be aiming for is going to rely a lot on familiars and possible power creep. So, I mean, you've been thinking about this, right? Because you already asked about the secondary, and you know about your emblem that you already said, like, oh, it has 70%, kind of like with a heavy heart. Like, I know that's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're focusing on these things, because this is where your focus should be. Like, this is where a lot of your damage comes from. But it is perfectly fine to to be confused still about these because we need more information. We need to know about familiars. We need to know about possible power creep. And then once you know that, then you can start putting the pieces together. And then it'll be important to do that WSE calculator that I talked to you about. Calculate your functional IED. Definitely move your hyperstat points into IED at that point so that you can rely. Because I don't know if you're 100% up to speed with the hyperstat points, because you seem to have distributed them like in my video.
Yeah, I don't really know how to distribute the hyperstats that well.
Yeah, so in general, you're doing the right thing. But so dex, the dex and the hyperstats is just like a chunk they throw out at the end, so it doesn't get multiplied by your percentages. So that's kind of like the final pile that you throw some in once everything else has as many points as it can. But it's perfectly fine to build it the way that you did it because you have a lot of ID in your stuff, so you don't necessarily need it. You're definitely doing fine now. But later, something like being able to build a line of 30% IED in your hyperstats is way more valuable than just some weapon attack and some dex in your hyperstat. Because that will basically allow you to get an extra line of percentage attack on something like your emblem or your weapon, which is way more valuable than just a chunk, like a small chunk of attack and dex in your hyperstats. So every single source that you have, like with your hyperstats or in your legion as well, specifically once you start growing that, every single value that one character has can be very different depending on which class you're playing and what your class really needs. Some classes have a great amount of IED and boss damage already. Like, cool, throw everything into crit. Some characters already have amazing crit and don't need anything. Well, cool, let's throw it into critical damage and into boss damage. For you, you're kind of in a unique situation because of Vicious Shot, you actually need everything. You can use IED, you can use boss damage, you can use critical damage, and you can also still use critical rate to a certain extent. So what usually happens for archers is you just keep grinding it up, you get to 250, and then you check the calculator, which is basically a calculator for everything. And at that point, you just throw everything in there. And it'll calculate for you what is the optimal distribution of these points. Because it's too much for your brain to handle. Like, there are too many variables. There are too many moving pieces. A computer can calculate for you what is the optimal distribution way better than what you can actually... Like, it will take you forever to do all these tests, right? Like, what do I do at level 6 in the hyperstats, and then I put 30 in the legion, and then you move that around, and you do battle analysis, and then you do multiple to account for different... Like, it's way too much work. Like, it's impossible. But it's also too difficult to do those calculations when you're still growing and you're still leveling. So you got to get to a point where you're kind of settled in, right? Let's say that you have all your Abzo at like 17 stars, at least 2 lines, some 3-line stat, and then you have, we have familiars back. You're starting to settle into your final accessories, all of that stuff. Maybe you have some more Gallic stuff, and then you throw everything into the calculator. And then the calculator will tell you, like, okay, you need 1 line of IED, or maybe the calculator will tell you something like you need 1 line of IED from a familiar and 2 lines of boss, and then you'll need 1 line of boss on your secondary, and everything else will need to be full attack, and then you will need to take 40% IED in Legion, 20% critical damage in Legion, and 40% boss damage, and maybe 10% critical rate, and then hyperstats 10, 11, 9, 12, whatever, and then that will give you the optimal damage distribution, and then you just follow that. Like, I can't even come up with like I'm just giving you a random example, right? But that could be the outcome that calculator gives you, and then that word will be worth like 100 times my speculation because I can't compute those numbers. Does that all make sense? Like, in general, about some things that you can worry about now, and some things you just don't have to worry about right now because they will change and they will move around, and they're kind of beyond your decisions anyway. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for like familiar to come out, so like better understanding stuff.
For sure, and then you'll know where you stand, right? But because let's say familiars come back, but it's like impossible to get more than, if you get 1 line of good boss damage and 1 line of IED, that's considered like almost perfect familiars. Well, then that's good to know as well, because then you can know that you can eventually count that in and then start calculating around that. Okay, is that clear enough for gear? in general?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Good. And then we've come to the Legion and Link skill part. Have you checked out the ! links in the chat?
Yeah, I think I'm working on next links I'm gonna do are Kadena, and then the Mage Link, and then Nihil, and then Demon Slayer, and then the Thieves Link.
Okay, hang on, back it up. Working on the mages. Oh wait, Kadena, mages, yes,
Yeah.
and then Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer, Nihil,
Yep, my mom liked
and
that
then,
knockback resistance too. Yeah,
and then Thieves.
the thieves. Yeah. Do you have the resistance link skill stacked?
It's like level 2 right now.
Okay. I would say that. Oh yeah, Spirit of Freedom. I see it right here. That is a very useful link skill. Basically, I would say for all the bosses, CRA and up, I would heavily advise the Mihal for the knockback resistance, if you need it, of course, and just the Spirit of Freedom, at least at level 6, but preferably at level 8. It'll save you so much headache. A lot of bosses can do this thing where they do a skill that kills you, and then you respawn, and you respawn right into the next stack and immediately die again. Right? You probably had this happen when you were doing Vellum, or maybe when you're doing Von Bon with a teammate, and then he like jumps up in the air, right, and kills you again. It's just silly, and you lose your lives on it. And what the worst part about it is makes you frustrated, and then you're more likely to make more mistakes. Whereas if you know, like, okay, I died, it's whatever. Okay, I get back. I can get back. You respawn. You can get back to the boss and don't have to like dodge 300 million attacks that can come flying from all of the corners. You can freely walk back to him, and then continue what you were doing. That peace of mind, I think, has an insane amount of value over the possible frustrations and everything. So I would put those on the list, but most of the resistance classes I think are kind of underpowered right now. I'm hoping for this summer for some kind of rework on the resistance characters, because a lot of them can use some help. So they might be good candidates for you to mega burn at this point. I don't know where you are with the burning, or if you already had a plan for your burninator coupons.
I don't really know what I'm gonna do with the mega burning. I already used terror burning on the Beast Hammer.
Mm-hmm. I see.
I'm not really sure what I'm gonna burn next, so.
Okay. So you could consider those. I don't know if you have the. Wait, which one is the one you have? Is it the mechanic?
Yeah, I have the mechanic.
Okay, that's good. That's a good priority. Yeah, but consider those, I would say. Are you aware of all of the link skills, which ones stack and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you make the archers, you can just stack them with your Pathfinder, and it doesn't even require an extra slot, right? So marksman and bowmaster can just stack in your existing link skill. Doesn't consume any extra stacks. That's always nice. And as you're bossing more, as you're using vicious shot, all of the critical rate, especially the ones that can stack for free in your current one, is all extra damage. But as I already just said, like, it's only for bossing, it's only during the burst, so it is a limited use. So it's good to have a general list of priorities. But I think the ones you mentioned, that's a decent list. Yeah, you got the extra boss damage, you got the IED from those, from the mages, and then the connection of those, and with the familiars, and with the hyperset moving, and then with your legion getting bigger. All of that will give you way more freedom to have way more outs for your potential, for your Princess No secondary, and then your emblem. And then you'll see your damage go up by a lot. That's going to be great. Legion building for now. Yeah, you kind of thrown everything into the pack there, which I think is fine. I would say though, once you get to 3k Legion, and you get the extra... So then you'll get 5 extra characters that you can put in, and you'll get the extra hex on your grid. Once you get to 3k, I would like redo where all the pieces are.
Okay.
So priority will be critical damage is most important, then boss damage, then Dex, then critical rate and attack, like kind of similar.
Okay.
So you'll probably go for like a was it like a U shape or like a reverse V shape, right? Where you go through the middle, and you kind of leave an upside down triangle open, and you build like 2 half triangles on the side, so that you can connect critical damage and boss damage through the middle, kind of like this, like this shape. But yeah, for now, since you're I wouldn't move any pieces around now. Like it's fine. Yeah. But so initially attack is worth way more than dex, but then later dex becomes worth more because 1 hex of dex is 5 and 1 hex of attack is only 1. And as you've seen in the flame score, you have a decreasing efficiency in attack, right? Because of the sources that you get throughout the game. So then putting dex over attack in your legion grid becomes more efficient.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the general order. How are you feeling like with the balance between working on your legion and everything? Because we didn't touch on it that just yet, but I think there's an insane amount of value you can get out of getting a kana with Kishin on your laptop if you have access to it.
Okay, yeah. I should probably start doing that.
Well, there's Terburn right now, right? So it's a perfect situation to do it. You can just drag your kana through the dailies by building up its arcane power, and it'll give you more spawn. Well, not 100%, but it'll give you more spawn when you're doing your daily kill quest as well on your main. So that'll speed that up. So the one thing that people have been doing now that has been working pretty well for me is when you're doing. So you need enough arcane power to not like get bum rushed by the monsters, but you basically just take off the equips to make the character weaker, and then you use the Circle of Suppression, which is the hyper skill that causes a lot of basically like pushes back monsters who get close, and it that triggers a lot of the Yosuzume, which is like little voodoo dolls to fly around and hit monsters, because every single one of those instances of damage can proc the Night Ghost Guide, which prolongs the effect of Kishin on the map. So the more of those little instances you can have trigger, and the more monsters can be hit by it, the more chance you'll have that you will prolong your Kishin. And that seems to be working okay. So what I try to do is put Kishin somewhere, and then move the kana away from that area, because Kishin will also be killing the mobs. And try to have like some kind of platform where the kana can stand, where it can reach a bunch of monsters, and then just passively attack them with the Circle of Suppression. And then hopefully by the time Kishin runs out, you'll be able to press the button again and then move the kana a little bit around again to a different area, and then it'll feel a little bit weird and it's a little bit awkward and it's like on a second computer, but it'll speed things up even despite that. Yeah, and it'll help you build your legion as well. I would say it's definitely worth. That would be yeah, I can say 100% that'll be worth. Provided you don't need to like, you don't have like a sister who needs to take the laptop every half hour for homework or something, because there are people who are like, I have a second computer, but it's kind of gets used by my mom when she's doing knitting, and it's like, okay, maybe that's not dependable enough to invest too much time into.
For
Yeah.
my equips, is Gollix like something I should be looking at? Because I know like I realize like I'm getting coins at like a really slow rate. So, like, I shouldn't. Should I really be like looking for those equips?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? So the rings won't really overpower event rings until very far. Still, the main value in all of these equips is the fact that is the set bonuses. So you'll basically just save up. Right now, you're like doing fine on the accessories. So there's no real point in dedicating to a set unless you have like the other pieces. Like let's say that you have a belt drop and you have an earring drop from hard, then you could consider getting either a ring and a pendant or getting 2 pendants. But again, you have to look at the set loss. But the set bonus of reinforced could definitely be worth it. I don't think you will need to go into the reinforced set bonus, because I think you're far enough past the point of the efficiency for that. I think you can aim for the efficiency of the Helix set bonus, because it's just 30 boss, 30 IED. Like that's basically 2 extra lines of potential on your weapon or your secondary, right?
Yeah.
It's so much value. And it does overcome all the other value. So that does also mean that you don't want to super hyper invest into your current accessories, knowing that they're going to get replaced. But you also know how far Helix is from where you are right now. So you can make a decent amount of investment. You can definitely get things to unique, like 1 or 2 lines usefulness, or even get them to legendary with like a line of Meso or drop, so that they can facilitate that progression even faster. Just don't let it go too much at the expense of damage on them. But that'll be something like whenever a big cube sale or something comes around, that's when you can drop some serious money on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a set bonuses. Yeah, I don't think the reinforced should be on your radar too much, but definitely aim for the superior set. Yeah. Yeah, the time frame for all of this is really going to depend on some luck, on some RNG from drops, and how hard you're going to be training. But I think that kana, if you could get access to that kana, I think that'll speed you up quite a bit. It's going to be slow in the beginning, right? Because you need to do all of the dailies, and you need to go unlock all the areas, right, to bring it up to speed to where your main is. But once it gets there, yeah, it's going to be massive help.
Okay.
All right, you're doing like the other Meso stuff for now, like Maple Tour and Ursus and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing that every day.
Nice. That's some good money, right? It's like an extra bill per week.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some free money in this game, because everything's so expensive.
Yeah.
Wait, is your main faceless? Or is that a...
I don't know, it just bugs out like that.
Oh, I have 3 characters that are bugged like that now. And then you reapply it, and then 2 days later it's like gone again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I emailed support about this, because like, I keep losing my face.
Yeah.
Over it.
Have they told you that they can't do anything about it?
I haven't gotten a response.
Oh, okay. That's what I got last time, but that was a while ago, so maybe they... let me know if they give you a reply. Maybe they could fix it for me too. Yeah, I got 3 characters like that now. It's getting pretty crazy. That shouldn't be a thing, especially not in a game that's so heavily factored around fashion and the look of your character. It's kind of silly, right?
Yeah. Kind of stupid.
Yeah, so Flames, save up 1 item at a time. Look for the potential gains on the individual items. Star Force definitely July 12th, getting all of that stuff to 15. And look out for a 5, 10, 15 event on the patch notes that we should be getting on July 22nd. That's when you should know when, if there's going to be a 5, 10, 15 soon, and if so, when it is, so that you can mark your calendar for that. And then all your stuff will be at 17. And then hopefully there will be some kind of cube DMT event and more information about familiars, so you can start coming up with a plan for recubing stuff. Definitely keep on top of all of the symbols and unlock your new area for great arcane power gains. And come up with the list and the plan for your matrix. That's gonna help you deal a lot of damage too. A lot of these things are gonna be invisible damage, but some of these are gonna be visible, like in your range, I mean specifically. But there's definitely a very solid foundation here, and a lot of good work already done. And I think you'll be able to solo Lotus and Damien with this in no time. Definitely, I think by the end of the summer. Definitely by like August.
Okay. For link skills, do you think like I meet the terms and conditions? Like, I'm not really sure like what the best install link skills are.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know specifically for Pathfinder. You do have some bursts with the big shot and with the tornado dude and with vicious shot like that. That does all come together. So what are you moving into? You'll be switching out like... So Keen Edge is gonna go for the Kadena one. This one's gonna get stacked. And then Close Call is probably gonna go for the Demon Slayer. And then Elementalism is probably going to get upgraded for the Mage. Which one are you missing at that point? Oh.
Thieves one.
The Thief one, yeah. I guess the Thief one is like a smaller but more reliable terms of condition, kind of. What is your core aura at right now? How much does that give you?
Let me check.
It's always difficult to check. You gotta like.
It's not that good right now. It's like 18 weapon attack and 8 main set.
Okay, so yeah, that'll definitely get replaced too then by. Which one are we missing at that point? You have Wild Rage, right? Yeah. Oh, Hybrid Logic probably.
Oh, the Xenon one?
Xenon Link, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the plan. So, split terms and condition with the Thief one, Core Aura with Xenon, Elementalism with your Explorer Mage, only when it's fully stacked up to 6, Close Call with Demon Slayer, and Keen Edge with... shit, which one did we say? Oh, I thought I had it. with the Kadena link, the debuff one. Yeah, and then make sure you stack your 2 other Explorer Archers into your main one. Right, because you can see in the screenshot, right? You can see that the link option is available. So it'll just like stack it in here. And then the Spirit of Freedoms to extend that duration. And then your bossing is going to be like fully on point. And then when you're mobbing, you get out of Light Wash, you get out of the Demon Slayer, you get out of probably Focus Spirit and Phantom Instinct, I think, right? Because those all won't do much for you. And then you switch into the more mobbing ones. Oh! We shouldn't forget the Mihail link, right? Because that's not pure damage, but that is utility. It'll probably depend which boss you're doing, and then I would like switch out the Thief link with Mihail, depending on which boss it is.
Okay.
Yeah, because like getting knocked into a Damien one shot or into a CPAP clock just because you don't have that last little bit of knockback resistance is so infuriating. Yeah, that'll save you a lot of frustration. At least for me, I get very frustrated by that. Maybe that's my weakness. Maybe you have way more tolerance for that. But like getting that slight little nudge into a death that's completely avoidable by a little bit of knockback resistance, that tilts me. I don't know. Maybe you're way better at dealing with that.
No, that definitely tilts me.
Okay, this tilts you. Okay, yeah. So yeah, taking a little bit of a hit in the damage, but a lot of bonus to the survivability and for the stability of your character being able to move, I think is worth it there. Yeah, so yeah, keep steadily moving up on the Legion. Like, do a little bit every day, but only as much as you want to and only as much as is fun for you. But definitely prioritize making the Kana for now. And that'll help you... Yeah, the Legion, there's like a lot of potential for growth in there. It's already good, but there's like a lot of room still for that to become a very impactful thing. Once you get to 6k and that whole grid becomes available. Yeah, you've seen my Legion, right? Oh wait, I can't show it here, but... yeah, it just adds so much value to your overall account. It's crazy. See if I can show it real quick. So not just the member bonus, but also the before I have the bug where my Legion is gone. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, so like the grid bonus, the extra 40% boss and IED with 20% critical damage and 14% critical rate. You're probably looking for... I mean, this is an 8k setup, of course, so that's a little bit, quite a little bit far from where you are. But this would be like the setup you want. So critical damage and ignore defense full, attack into dex for you then, and then boss damage full, and then everything else you have left in critical rate. That's probably what you're going to be aiming for.
Okay.
And yeah, that'll just give you so much extra final damage. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, very solid work already. Very solid foundation. If you haven't been playing for that long already, that's yeah, it's very very good work so far, and a good promising future ahead, man.
All right.
Yeah. Do you feel like everything was answered appropriately? Do you still have any follow-up questions?
Yeah. So I'm just sticking with like the accessories I have now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then like working for Abso,
Mm-hmm.
and then after like Familiar comes out, like I should look to replace some of the lines on my emblem.
Yeah.
Secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Do the accessories feel a little bit underwhelming now, I guess?
yeah, they feel underwhelming, but
Mm-hmm.
like I don't really think I have a better option because like Galax takes like forever
Yeah.
to get going. Yeah.
Yeah, and getting
I'm
them
not
all too unique, and that feels like over investing in my opinion. Like as long as they have okay flames, so you could, if you think like you're gonna stay with you for a long time, you could invest in getting the high level ones to 17, like with all of your other items together. So like on July 12th, getting them to 15, and then waiting for the 15 to 17. So you could do that for your earring and your belt. And you definitely want to do that for your Dominator Pendant to get it to 16 at least, right? For the Transposing later anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you'll be doing that on the kind of treasuring. And then the Sweetwater Tattoo and the face, and then those will start coming in. So that's already like over half of your accessories that are eventually, once you make the move from 15 to 17, that are going to be at that point or going to be replaced. And then slowly you'll see that whole thing taking more form a little bit. What I did on some of my characters was get the eye in the face too unique. Too legendary even. And then just once the monocle and the tattoo, went above 15 stars and all that jazz, get those, use those for damage, and then just keep the other ones for drop rate or for Meso obtain.
Okay.
That's what I did. So you could elect to do that as well if there's some kind of major, like cubing event, any kind of DMT. Maybe there's one in July, but we've skipped the March one. I don't know if you're too familiar with like the big events like that. But DMT, do you know what a DMT is? You probably haven't seen one yet, right?
Double Miracle Time. I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, typically March, July, and December is when those are. But we completely skipped the March one. So it's all all bets are off apparently. So we'll have to wait and see coming July if they do bring that back.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's perfectly fine to feel a little bit underwhelmed with the accessories right now, because they kind of are, but it's something that you and everyone else is gonna have to kind of get used to, because Galax is just it's been really good, and it's been a good time having good access to it, but it was too good, probably, to be honest. So everyone's gonna have to take a step back, which never feels good. Okay, is there anything else?
No, I think
Talked about your
you've answered
invulnerability.
like some of my questions, like most of my questions.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
Cool. Oh, we went from some to most to all. That's good. You're like, how do I make this sound so it doesn't feel like I still have a million questions left? But yeah, any questions you still have, you can always hit me up on Discord or just ask me in the chat. Even if it's like a little bit more in depth, like do I take this or this potential? I do my best to reply to everyone all the time, and it's not because like the progression advice now is like finished for this session that you can never ask me anything again, like unless you like throw money at me or anything. Like I try to be available as much as I can, but if it's really in depth like this, I try to do it more in a session like this, because it gives me and you more freedom to just ask whatever the fuck you want and just go really in depth. And yeah. But yeah, hopefully it was very helpful for you.
Yeah, everything makes a lot of sense to me now.
Good. I'll definitely throw it on YouTube if you ever want to like revisit any of it, or if you want to show off to your friends how strong you already are. And yeah, I'll see you in chat.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else, you always know where to find me. Okay.
Alright, thanks a lot.
All right. See ya. Have a good day.
See ya.